گفتمش شیرین ترین آواز چیست؟ چشم غمگینش به رویم خیره ماند. گفتمش شیرین ترین آواز چیست؟ چشم غمگینش به رویم خیره ماند. قطره قطره اشکش از مژگان چکید، لرز افتادش به گیسوی بلند. زیر لب غمناک خواند ناله زنجیرها بر دست من. گفتمش آنگه که از هم بگسلند، خنده تلخی به لب آورد و گفت آرزویست دلکش است اما غریب. وقت شورم ره به این امید بست، وان طلایی زرم خورشید را صخره‌های ساحل مغرب شکست. من به خود لرزیدم از درد تلخ، با دل من با دل او می‌گریست. گفتمش بنگر در این دریای کور، چشم هر اختر چراغ زورقیست. لیکن این نیست دریاییست شد. ای دریغا شب روان کز نیمه راه میکشد افسون شب در خوابشان. گفتمش فانوس ما میدرد از چشم بیگاری نشان. گفت اما در شب این گونه گم، گفت اما در شب این هیچ آوایی نمی باید به گوش. گفت ای افسوس بر این دام مرگ، با صید تازه‌ای را میبرند. این صدای پایوست گریه‌ای افتاد در من بی امان. در میان عشقها پرسیدمش خوشترین لبخند چیست خوشترین لبخند چیست شعله‌ای در چشم تاریک شکاف جوش خون در گونه‌اش آتش فشاند گفت لبخندی که عشق سربلند وقت مردن بر لب مردان نشاند.
Good evening, everybody. So, Facebook was playing games with me. I'm going to close him down. Facebook was playing games with me this evening, and it's taken me forever to get stuff sorted out, and printing was taking forever as well. Hello, everybody. My name is Joanna Godwin-Seidl. I am your host for this evening's reading of 1001 Nights. Welcome to my hearth fire. I will try and keep it burning for you for the duration of the reading. Sometimes it has a little mind of its own, as fires tend to do, but we will try and make sure we keep that burning, gorgeous and bright. I wanted to remind you, for those of you who decide that you don't want to stay online for the whole reading, that I'm sorry, it's been a long day, everyone. Saman and I are going to be reading live and online together on Saturday evening on the 6th of February with Kamyab. So with the wonderful musician who you heard a minute ago, Saman and I are going to be live and online with Kamyab at the Grand Hotel in Vienna in beautiful dresses supplied by the haute couture fashion designer Maurizio Giambra. And a little special giveaway treat will be available on that night as well if you listen in. And as I said, live music from Kamyab, and we will be in the presidential suite, which is very, very beautiful, and we're very, very grateful for that opportunity. What's happening there? How do you mean what's happening there? I have no idea what's happening here at the moment. Tell you what, today has been a day and a half. Anyway, so welcome everybody. Without further ado, I am going to start reading for you, and I hope I've got the pages all right this time, because I was going to do a page issue earlier on. But let us get going. Now, when it was the 291st night, Scheherazade said, "It hath reached me, O auspicious king, that the jeweler continued." Then she bent towards me. And if you remember from last week, for any of you who are listening for the first time, this is part of the story of the mock Caliph. And in last week's episode that finished on Friday, a rather rich young woman had taken a fancy to a very poor man and has taken him to her home and has started to seduce him. Then she bent towards me and kissed and caressed me. And as she caressed and drew me towards her and to her breast, she pressed me. Now, she knew by my condition that I had a mind to enjoy her. So she said to me, "O my lord, wouldst thou foregather with me unlawfully? By Allah, may he not live who would do the like of this sin, and who takes pleasure in talk unclean. I am a maid, a virgin, whom no man hath approached, nor am I unknown in this city. Knowest thou who I am?" Quoth I, "No, by Allah, O my lady." And quoth she, "I am the lady Dunya, daughter of Yahya bin Khalid, the Barmecide, and sister of Jafar, wazir to the Caliph." Now, as I heard this, drew back from her, saying, Oh, my lady, it is no fault of mine if I have been overbold with thee. It was thou didst encourage me to aspire to thy love by giving me access to thee. She answered, No harm shall befall thee, and needs must thou attain thy desire in the only way pleasing to Allah. I am my own mistress, and the Qazi shall act as my guardian in consenting to the marriage contract. For it is my will that I be thee wife, and thou be to me man. Then she sent for the Qazi and the witnesses, and busied herself with making ready. And when they came, she said to them, Muhammad Ali bin Ali the jeweller seeketh me in wedlock, and hath given me the necklace to my marriage settlement, and I accept and consent. So they wrote out the contract of marriage between us, and ere I went in to her, the servants brought the wine furniture, and the cups passed round where the fairest fashion and the goodliest ordering. And when the wine mounted to our heads, she ordered a damsel, a lute player, to sing. So she took the lute and sang to a pleasing and stirring motif these couplets. He comes, and fawn and branch and moon delight these eyne. Fee on his heart who sleeps o' nights without repine. Fair youth, for whom heaven willed to quench in cheek one light, and left another light on other cheek bright line. I fain finesse my children when they mention him, as though the hearing of his name I would decline, and willing ear I lend when they of others speak. Yet would my soul within o'erflow with floods of brine. Beauty's own prophet, he is all a miracle. O heavenly grace, and greatest shows his face for sign. To prayer, Bilal-like cries that mole upon his cheek. Toward him pearly brow, all eyes of ill design. The senses of their ignorance would thy love, my love, dispel. But after faith, I cannot at once infidel. We were ravished by the sweet music she made striking the strings, and the beauty of the verses she sang, and the other damsels went on to sing and to recite one after another, till 10 had so done, when the Lady Dunya took the lute and playing a lively measure, chanted these couplets. I swear, my swayings of that form so fair, I from thy parting fiery pangs I bear. Pity, O heart, which burneth in thy love, O bright as fullest moon in blackest air. Vouchsafe thy boons to him who ne'er will cease, in light of wine cup all thy charms declare. Amid the roses which varied hues, art the myrtle bush a mere despair. When she had finished her verse, I took the lute from her hands, and playing a quaint and no vulgar prelude, sang the following verses. Lord, to my Lord who give thee all of loveliness, myself amid thy thralls I willingly confess. O thou whose eyes and glances captivate mankind, pray that I 'scape those arrows shot with all thy stress. Two hostile rivals water an unflaming fire. Thy cheeks have married, which for marvel I profess. Thou art, Sayyir, in heart of me, and Ek-Naim. Thou, agro dolce, vice heart's sweetest bitterness. When she heard this, my song, She rejoiced with exceeding joy. Then, dismissing her slave women, she brought me to a most goodly place, where they had spread as a bed of various colours. She did off her clothes, and I had a lover's privacy of her, and found her a pearl unpierced, and a filly unridden. So I rejoiced in her, and never in my born days spent I a more delicious night. And Scheherazade perceived the dawn of day and ceased saying her permitted say. Now, when it was the 292nd night, she said, "It hath reached me, O auspicious king," that Mohammed bin Ali the jeweller continued. So I went in unto the lady Dunya, daughter of Vaya bin Khalid the Barmecide, and I found her a pearl unridden and a filly unridden. So I rejoiced in her and repeated these couplets. O night, here stay, I want no morning light. My lover's face to me is lamp and light, as ringed of round his neck's my arm, and made my palm his mouth veil, and 'twas right. This be the crown of bliss, and ne'er will cease to clip, nor care to be in other plight. And I abode with her a whole month, forsaking shop and family and home, till one day she said to me, O light of my eyes, O my Lord Mohammed, I have determined to go to Hammam today. So sit thou on this couch and rise not from thy place till I return to thee. I hear and I obey, answered I. And she made me swear to this, after which she took her women and went off to the bath. But by Allah, O my brothers, she had not reached the head of the street ere the door opened and in came an old woman who said to me, O my Lord Mohammed, the lady Zubaydah biddeth thee to her, for she hath heard of thy fine manners and accomplishments and skill in singing. I answered, By Allah, I will not rise from my place till the lady Dunya come back. Rejoined the old woman, O my lord, do not anger the lady Zubaydah with thee, and vex her so as to make her thy foe. Nay, rise up and speak with her and return to thy place. So I rose at once and followed her into the presence of the lady Zubaydah. When I entered her presence, she said to me, O light of the eye, art thou the lady Dunya's beloved? I answered, I am thy Mameluke, thy chattel, replied I. Quoth she, So spake he who reported thee possessed of beauty and grace and good breeding and every fine quality. Indeed, thou surpassest all praise and all report. But now sing to me that I may hear thee. Quoth I, hearkening and obedience. So she brought me a lute, and I sang to it these couplets. The hapless lover's heart is of his... sang to these couplets, excuse me. Struggling again. To Allah's charge, I leave that moonlight beauty in your tents, whom thy heart loves, all be my glance on her may ne'er be thrown. Now, she is vain, then she is fierce, how sweet her coyness shows. Yen, sweet whatever doth or saith to lover, loved one. When I had finished my song, she said to me, Allah assain thy body and thy voice. Verily, thou art perfect in beauty and good breeding and singing. But now rise and return to thy place, ere the Lady Dunya come back, lest she find thee not and be wroth with thee. Then I kissed the ground before her, and the old woman forewent me till I reached the door whence I came. So I entered, and going to the couch, found that my wife had come back from the bath and was lying asleep there. Seeing this, I sat down at her feet and rubbed them. Whereupon her eyes opened, and seeing me, drew up both her feet and gave me a kick that threw me off the couch, saying, O traitor, thou hast been false to thine oath and hast perjured thyself. Thou swearest to me that thou wouldst not rise from thy place. Yet didst thou break thy promise and go to the Lady Zubaydah. By Allah, but I fear public scandal. I would pull down her palace over her head. Then said she to her slave, O Zawab, arise and strike off this lying traitor's head, for we have no further need of him. So the slave came up to me, and tearing a strip from his shirt, bandaged with my eyes, and would have struck off my head. And Shahrazad perceived the dawn of day and ceased saying her permitted say. Got another couple. Thank you very much. I know. You know what? It always goes wrong, doesn't it? It always, whenever they leave a woman's house, it always goes wrong. That always end up something, you know, the minute he goes against somebody's will, you know, or she does, you know something's about to happen. I'm going to try and turn the logs and see if I can get the fire burning a little bit more lively, folks. And then let's see if we can't work out what is going to happen next to our jeweler, who is now, ooh, no, I just did something very wrong. Oh, I silly. Oh, that was a big mistake. Let's hope we can get this going. Still. It'll work. Well, you know what I'm going to do actually? I'm going to close the door, and then the took. We'll get it going again in a minute. You watch that. You watch that. It's going to happen, people. I just put a whole log by accident on the whole flame. And that was the end of that then. But the wood is still burning, and hopefully that will create a little bit of a suction. And then it's going to suddenly go push, just like that. Right. So where were we? 293rd night. Here we go, folks. This is getting exciting, isn't it? So what do we think is going to happen? Is he going to keep his head or not? Of course he is, because he's a storyteller, so he's got to keep his head right. Otherwise the story would be over. So let's see what happens when it was the 293rd night. She said, it has reached me. Oh, come on, little fire. You can do it. I know you can. I know you want to. So badly. It'll get there. As soon as I finish reading, it'll go, oh, I'm ready to go now. Right, here we go. So now when it was the 293rd night, she said, it hath reached me, O auspicious king, that Muhammad the jeweler continued, so the slave came up to me, and tearing a strip from his skirt, bandaged me with my eyes, and would have struck off my head. But all her women, great and small, rose and came up to her and said, "Oh, our lady, This is not the first who hath erred. Indeed, he knew not thy humour, and hath done thee no offence deserving death. Replied she, By Allah, I must needs set my mark on him. And she bade them bash me. So they beat me on my ribs, and the marks ye saw are the scars of their fustigation. Then she ordered them to cast me out, and they carried me to a distance from the house and threw me down like a log. After a time, I rose and dragged myself little by little to my own place, where I sent for a surgeon and showed him my hurts, and he comforted me and did his best to cure me. As soon as I was recovered, I went to the hammam, and as my pains and sickness had left me, I repaired to my shop and took and sold all that was therein. With the proceeds, I bought me 400 white slaves, such as no king ever got together, and caused 200 of them to ride out with me every day. Then I made me yonder barge, whereupon I spent 5,000 gold pieces, and styled myself Caliph, and appointed each of my servants to the charge of someone of the Caliph's officers, and clad him in official habit. Moreover, I made proclamation, Whoso goeth a-pleasuring on the Tigris by night, I will strike off his head without ruth or delay. And on such wise have I done this whole year past, during which time I have heard no news of the lady, neither happened upon any trace of her. Then wept he copiously, and repeated these couplets. By Allah, while the days endure, ne'er shall I forget her, nor draw any nigh, save those who draw her to me nigh. Like to the fullest moon, her form and favour show to me. Lord to her, our creating Lord, loud to Lord on high. She left me full of mourning, sleepless, sick with pine and pain, and ceaseth not my heart to yearn her mystery to espy. Now, when Harun al-Rashid heard the young man's story, and knew the passion and transport and love low that afflicted him, he was moved to compassion, and wondered, and said, Glory be to Allah, who hath appointed to every effect a cause. Then they craved the young man's permission to depart, which, being granted, they took leave of him, the Caliph's purposing to do him justice meet, and him with the utmost munificence entreat. And they returned to the palace of the Caliphate, where they changed clothes for others befitting their state, and sat down while Masrur, the sworder of high justice, stood before them. After a while, quoth the Caliph to Jafar, O Wazir, bring me the young man. And Shahrazad perceived the dawn of day, and ceased saying her permitted say. Come on, little fire. Let's do one more go, shall we? Let's see what we can do. I did this all wrong, folks. Oh, we've got something wrong with our chimney. My bad. Right. So let's read one more night, shall we, tonight? Now, when it was the 294th night, she said, "It has reached me, O auspicious king, that quoth the Caliph to the minister, 'Bring me the young man with whom we were last night.' 'I hear and obey,' answered Jafar, and going to the youth saluted him, saying, 'Obey the summons of the commander of the faithful, the Caliph Harun al-Rashid.' So he returned with him to the palace in great anxiety by reason of the summons, and going to the king, kissed the ground before him and offered up a prayer for the endurance of his glory and prosperity, for the accomplishment of his desires, for the continuance of his beneficence, for the cessation of evil and punishment, ordering his speech as best he might, and ending it, saying, 'Peace be on thee, O Prince of the true believers and protector of the folk of the faith.' Then he repeated these couplets: 'Kiss thou his fingers, which no fingers are, keys of our daily bread those fingers ken, and praise his actions which no actions are, but precious necklaces round necks of men.' So the Caliph smiled in his face and returned his salute, looking on him with the eye of favour. Then he bade him draw near and sit down before him, and said to him, 'O Muhammad al-Ali, I wish thee to tell me what befell thee last night, for it was strange and passing strange.' Quoth the youth, 'Pardon, O commander of the faithful, give me the kerchief of immunity, that my dread may be appeased and my heart eased.' Replied the Caliph, 'I promise thee safety from fear and woes.' So the young man told him his story, from first to last, whereby the Caliph knew him to be a lover and severed from his beloved, and said to him, 'Desirest thou that I restore thee to her?' 'This were of the bounty of the commander of the faithful,' answered the youth, and repeated these couplets: 'Ne'er cease thy gate to Kaaba to mankind, long may its threshold dust man's brow beseem, that o'er all countries it may be proclaimed, this is the place, and thou art Ibrahim.' Thereupon the Caliph turned to his minister and said to him, 'O Jafar, bring me thy sister, the Lady Dunya, daughter of the Wazir Yahya bin Khalid.' 'I hear and I obey,' answered he, and fetched her without let or delay. Now when she stood before the Caliph, he said to her, 'Dost thou know who this is?' And she replied, 'O commander of the faithful, how should women have knowledge of men?' So the Caliph smiled and said to her, 'O Dunya, this is thy beloved, Muhammad bin Ali, the jeweler. We are acquainted with his case, for we have heard the whole story from beginning to end, and have apprehended its inward and its outward. And it is no more hidden from me, for all it was kept in secrecy.' Replied she, 'O commander of the faithful, this was written in the book of destiny. I crave the forgiveness of Almighty Allah for the wrong I have wrought, and pray thee to pardon me of thy favour.' At this, the Caliph laughed, and summoning the Qazi and witnesses, renewed the marriage contract between the Lady Dunya and her husband Muhammad Ali, son of the jeweler, whereby there betided them, both her and him, the utmost felicity. and to their enviers mortification and misery. Moreover, he made Muhammad Ali one of his boon companions, and they abode in joy and cheer and gladness, till there came to them the destroyer of delights and the sunderer of societies. And men also relate the pleasant tale of Ali the Persian. It is said that the Caliph Harun al-Rashid, being restless one night, sent for his wazir and said to him, "Oh, Jafar, I am sure wakeful and heavy-hearted this night, and I desire of thee what may solace my spirit and cause my breast to broaden with amusement." Quoth Jafar, "O Commander of the Faithful, I have a friend by name Ali the Persian, who hath store of tales and pleasant stories, such as lighten the heart and make care depart." Quoth the Caliph, "Fetch him to me." And quoth Jafar, hearkening, and obedience. And going out from before him, sent to seek Ali the Persian. When he came to him, he said, "Answer the summons of the Commander of the Faithful." "To hear is to obey," answered Ali. And Shahrazad perceived the dawn of day and ceased saying her permitted say. Well, dear friends, I'm really sorry about the fire. I really messed that up, didn't I? It's still burning, but it's burning so low. It's mostly smoking, and the timbers, you can't really see it, but underneath the timbers are just sort of glowing red. And somehow, though, I'm going to save it because I want to, when you're all gone and when I log off, I'm going to make sure that fire burns again and spend a good 5 minutes livening it up so that I have a really nice fire to end my evening, at least. So I hope you have really enjoyed tonight's reading. Thank you very much for listening in. Saman will be back with you tomorrow, if not me. And again, don't forget, on Saturday, the 6th of February, we will be reading at the Grand Hotel Wien, which is a beautiful, beautiful old hotel on the Ring, just as the Palais Hansen Kempinski is a beautiful hotel. That's a very beautiful hotel too. And we will be in the presidential suite in some very beautiful dresses with live music from Kamyab Sadiri and a little Valentine, tiny little Valentine giveaway. So do join us on that evening. It's an absolute pleasure reading for you this evening. As usual, I wish you many blessings. Have a good night. Have a good week. We will see each other potentially on Thursday, I hope. I look forward to it very much. Take care. Good night. Bye-bye.